Today we're going to learn, it's the last week of Chodesh Menachem Av, so something which is apropos to concluding the month and going into Chodesh Elul and Tishrei, is the Chanukah's Beis Hamikdash. We lost the Beis Hamikdash this month, and Mirz Hashem, when the Mashiach comes, the third Beis Hamikdash is going to be rebuilt, one of the key elements of Mashiach. And when that happens, it's going to be a great celebration. Not only are we going to be happy the Mashiach came, there's actually a process called the Chanukah's Beis Hamikdash. And if you go throughout each of the Batei Mikdashes, you had such a celebration took place. We had in the first in the Mishkan. You could read about the Shivas Yimei Miluim, and then Bayim Hashmini, the end of Shmeis, and the beginning of Vayikra, the first few parashas, and then of course what we read in Parashas Nasa and Chanukah about the for 12 days the Nesiim Zeis Chanukah's Hamizbeach, and it lists, it makes a Sachakel in the end, and it says that they brought 230 karbanos. In the Beis Sheni, the celebration went on for 14 days for the Chanukah. And it says in the pasuk over there in Melachim, it says that they brought Bakar Esrim Ushnayim Aleph for the Chanukah. In order to be mechanich, to inaugurate the Mizbeach, and they brought 22,000 oxen, B'tzoyin Me'ah Esrim Aleph, and 120,000 sheep. Just l'shem the Chanukah. Right? Vayachnechu as Beis Hashem. And that's how they were mechanich. The word chinuch literally means like haschala, the begin. That's how they were mechanich, the Beis Hamikdash Harishain. And in Ezra, if you look in the book of Ezra, which is one of the books of Tanakh, over there also it talks about a Chanukah. And it says over there, Toirin Me'ah, it's written in Aramaic. So it says they brought oxen, 100 oxen, Dichrin Masayan, 200 Elim, rams, Imrin Arbama, sheep. They brought 400 sheep with Sfidei Izim, the Chatah Kol Yisrael, Trei Asar Leminyan Shiftei Yisrael, and then they brought 12 goats for each shevet of Klal Yisrael. And there's a Gemara about it that Taka, what were they bringing the goat for? And there's a svara that it was not Par Helm Dover Shal Tzibur. The other thing for Avodah Zarah, that if Klal Yisrael does Avodah Zarah, then you have to bring a carbon for every shevet. It's not clear. The Gemara says whether it has the category, whether it had the halachic parameters of a sir of Avodah Zarah, but nevertheless they brought it for Klal Yisrael as part of the Chanukah, was 12 goats, Leminyan Shiftei Yisrael. Now when Mashiach comes, it's going to be the same thing. And it's very interesting, this prakim, that... no, 1 second. We have this Chanukah. We didn't say what the Chanukah is going to be. The Chanukah is described. We don't need or wait for Mashiach to come to know about what we're supposed to bring, because there's already a nevuah telling us exactly what to do. There's a nevuah in Yecheskel, starting from Kapitel Mem Gimel, chapter 43, through 46, which gets to the Chanukah essentially. Right now, the truth is, it doesn't say befedish. But that's how the Mefarshim learn. The Gemara, the difficulty. The Gemara even says that they wanted to be goynes Yecheskel. The book of Yecheskel they wanted to bury, because there was too many psukim that they couldn't get a handle on. What's it mean? Right? Things that don't seem to make sense. They don't seem to fit with halacha that we're familiar with from the 5 books of Moses, and they wanted to bury it. And this is one of the parts of Yecheskel, because it's describing karbanis which mamish don't match what the Torah says. My Torah says to bring 2 sheep on Shabbos. Over here it talks about 6 sheep on Shabbos and all kinds of things. And so the Gemara says about these psukim. The first shita says, Rabbi Yochanan says, Parsha zu Yehuda Elio Asid L'Darsha. Elio Navi is going to darshan it, L'Asid Lava. He says, we don't know pshat, but somehow it fits with the Torah, and Elio Navi is going to darshan it and figure it out. And Taka, if you learn Rashi on these psukim, he goes through mental gymnastics. It's unbelievable, these Rashis. How he shows you how every pasuk, the Taka fits with the Torah. The pasuk says Befeid is different than the Torah, but really, if you understand what the pasuk's saying, it's mamish saying like the Torah said. It's a lot of brilliant writing. But then comes along Rabbi Ashi and tells Rabbi Yochanan that no, this is actually the Miluim. This is actually Chanukah. This is actually the inauguration of the Beis Hamikdash. So it's unique, and that's how the Rambam Taka paskins, right? Because the Gemara continues, the very exact same thing happened with two Tanoim. Rabbi Yehuda said that it was Parsha Zu Eliyahu Asid L'Darsha. Eliyahu Navi is going to teach it, to explain Pshat how it doesn't contradict Torah. And then Rabbi Yasi told him, no, it's Miluim. And he told him, Rabbi Yehuda told him, he says, Tanuach daitcha shehinachta daiti. Right? You should have menuchas hanefesh because you made me have menuchas hanefesh. That I realize what it's talking about. It's talking about the Chanukah of the Beis Hamikdash. So now, I'll tell you what's very interesting if you study these psukim. Is it's not, there seemed to be a limited time of celebration by each of the Bate Mikdashes. By the Mishkan it was the 7 days, the 8 days, the 12 days. In the first Beis Hamikdash it was 14 days. Famously, the 8 on Yom Kippur. And after Sukkot, Shlomo HaMelech gave his farewell address, and so on. And the second Beis Hamikdash, the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi, we have Karbanis, special Karbanis, starting seemingly from Reish Chodesh Nisan until Shmini Atzeres. That's where it seems, because it has Karbanis for that entire period, for Sukkot and for Pesach and for Reish Chodesh Nisan and for Zion Nisan and for Yudalid Nisan and so on, and for Reish Chodesh, the special thing for Reish Chodesh and for Shabbos during that period. So there's an interesting Malbim where he talks about this. He says that if you study the Psukim, by Moshe Rabbeinu Miluim was 7 days, by Shlomo HaMelech it was 14 days, and in Ezra it was 21 days. There seems to be a pattern here. What does that mean? What should the third Beis Hamikdash be? How many days? If the first one is 7, and the second one is 14, and the third is 21, anybody? 28. 7, 14, 21, 28.
21 times 7. 140 days.
Why?
7 days.
Okay.
3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 21 is 63.
Each time we're going on another 7 days. 28. That's what it would be. However, he says, so l'chayre it should be 28 days. However, the problem is that we really have to celebrate the Chanukah of all the first Bate Mikdashes, because they were never niskayim. In other words, why do you make a celebration? Why do you celebrate at a chasana? Because you're planning for the marriage to last, not for it to end in a divorce, God forbid, or something like that, right? So over here, at the end of the day, the Beis Hamikdash didn't work out, so we have to re-celebrate those celebrations, right? So he says we have to do 7 days plus 14 days plus 21 days. We have to go through all of those celebrations, and the 28 days that for this Beis Hamikdash, for the third Beis Hamikdash. He said, what's the number you come out? 70 days, right? 7 days celebration, but he says we're still not done. Because after the 7 days for the Mishkan, we had the 12 days of the Nesiim, bringing those 230 karbanis that we spoke about before, right? So that is 12 days. And it would have been Roi that they did that also by Shlomo HaMelech. And remember, Shlomo HaMelech is doubling it. So what's 12 times 2? Shlomo HaMelech would have been 24, right? And Ezra would have been 3 times 12, so it would have been 36. And Lost Levi would be 4, and the Mashiach comes, it's 4 times 12, so it would be 48. So 48 plus 36 plus 24 plus 12, he says, and plus 70, what's it come out? He says, it comes out to 120 days plus 70 days, which is 190 days. We say like Hates Hayam in the end of days, that's the Simon. 190 days. And therefore, he says, if you look at the Nevuah here, you'll see that the Chanukah seems to begin Erev Pesach and conclude Shmini Atzeres, which is exactly 190 days of celebration. So it's going to be a party. We speak about the party of Achashverosh, Lahavdil, Meya. How many days was this party? 180 days. This is 190 days. Maybe that's also a diak, but the Yidden are going to be praving their Chanukah. And start preparing. Fine. Okay, so now just a moment, I want to look at some of the aspects of what we're going to do different from the psukim themselves, from the prakim themselves in Yechezkel about this Chanukah, this wonderful Chanukah. I haven't found anywhere explicitly, so I don't know the answer. It seems to be assuming a time period, but what happens if Mashiach comes today? How does it fit with it seems to have a very particular time when the Chanukah, when the inauguration of the Beis Hamikdash is supposed to take place. But if Mashiach comes today, how does it fit with the program? So davon Shem versteht, coming 8 ago. Maybe it means that we begin the celebration now, and it goes till for over a year. Whenever Mashiach comes, you do the whole celebration, because it has a carbon for every day, including weekdays. And whatever the pshat is, I don't know. But in general, there's a shaila, this whole concept of inaugurating a mizbeach and a Beis Hamikdash. Is it a mitzvah? What is it? So it's actually a machlekes rishonim. Is it stam a nevuah that each time we got a prophecy from Hashem to celebrate this great momentous occasion of building the Beis Hamikdash, you should do a Chanukah? Is it a nevuah, a prophecy, or rather, is it a mitzvah? And it's actually machlekes rishonim. The Rambam actually learns that there's no mitzvah in the Torah, no such mitzvah of Chanukah. And what's his raya? The raya is that none of the Chanukas that we find had the same karbonos. If it would have been a mitzvah in the Torah, it should have been whatever we do by the Mishkan, every Beis Hamikdash, that's how you build the Beis Hamikdash. But then we don't find that every time it's different karbonos, it's different amounts, it's different things. So clearly the Rambam says it's nevuah. It's Hashem says, and the Rambam says that everything it says in Yechezkel, that's the nevuah for the Chanukah of the Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. The Bahag actually counts it as one of the 630 mitzvahs, doing a Chanukah. He says the number doesn't matter, but the Chanukah itself, maybe that's prescribed by a Navi. But the reality is it's a mitzvah deiraisa. The Ramban agrees with the Bahag. He doesn't count it as one of the 630 mitzvahs, but he agrees that it's a mitzvah deiraisa from the Torah, l'doidus, for all generations. He just holds that it's part of the mitzvah of building a Beis Hamikdash is doing this. L'chayre, you could say that the Ramban and the Rambam are according to their shitta, that we know famously that Ramban holds that the purpose of a Beis Hamikdash is what? To be a holy place where the Shechina, where the divine presence rests. That's the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash. Versus the Rambam says it's a bayis muchen lahakrid be karbanis, a place where you bring karbanis. It's not about the holiness of that the Shechina rests over there, and therefore, being that the Ramban learns that the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash is the kedusha, the sanctity, so the inauguration, which is sanctifying it, according to halacha, unlike the Mishkan, how do they sanctify it? By smearing it with oil. But the way we sanctify kalim, vessels in a Beis Hamikdash, for all generations, is by doing things with it. That makes it holy. So for him, the act of sanctifying the Beis Hamikdash is a mitzvah in the Torah. Versus the Rambam, it's like a hechsher mitzvah. It's getting it ready. It's not the mitzvah itself. The mitzvah is to have a place where you bring karbanis. So just 2-3 highlights, and then one final point on this question when Mashiach comes. Some highlights of it is that we do some interesting things with some of these karbanis. Let me tell you. So for Ledugbe, so we'd be remiss, but what I told you before, that by saying Stam the 190 days, because it actually seems from the Pesukim to begin before the 190 days. It seems to begin like Moshe Rabbeinu's Mishkan, from Chav Gimel Adar, from the 23rd day of Adar, 7 days for the Chanukah of the Mizbeach. And it describes exactly, we're really going to be seeing this one very soon. Oxen and the whole 9 yards, the Oila and the mitzvah, for the first day of the inauguration is going to be an ox for a chatos, but typically a chatos we eat, unlike a burnt offering. But just like Moshe Rabbeinu's par, we said it was special. It was entirely burnt outside the Beis Hamikdash. It says to do the same thing here. We're going to have a par, but we're not going to eat it. We're going to burn it completely outside of the Beis Hamikdash. I don't think the shara bar is a carbon. No? I never heard anywhere that it's a carbon. A carbon of the Beis Hamikdash? Asuda. If it was a carbon, by the way, first of all, would it be Kadshi Kadash, Kadshim Kalim? You have to eat it in the Beis Hamikdash. You have to eat it. And also, it's going to be shechted through the fish. Right. You need a koyin. You need big dekahuna. It's going to be a delicious, incredible meal. Anyone can check, but they have to shecht it in the Beis Hamikdash. It has to be in the Beis Hamikdash. And And but starting from the second day, instead of an ox, you actually bring a goat for a chatos, and you do the same thing with a goat, and then you bring other things, and this goes on for 7 days, and that's how you deal with the mizbeach. And then there's another thing for the Beis Hamikdash. You bring karbanes for the Beis Hamikdash. And what's interesting is that there's application of blood, which you don't find any time that I'm familiar with in the Beis Hamikdash. Just like by Mitzrayim, they put it on their doorposts. There's a special mitzvah for the Chanukah. They're going to take some of the blood and they're going to put it on the doorpost of the Heichal. You know that building, the big building in the Beis Hamikdash in the middle. You put it on the door. We're going to put blood, and we're also going to put blood on the door of the Ezras Anoshim, the Ezras Yisrael, to the Azara on the door, and besides for putting it on the corners of the Mizbeach and so on. So it's a special element of an extra chiddush that arrives, and again, like we said before, it has a carbon to bring every weekday, and it has a carbon to bring a special carbon on Reish Chodesh, and on Shabbos, I think it says they bring 6 sheep. And another very interesting element to it is it talks about the Nasi bringing it, the Nasi. So some people want to say it's going on the Kohen Gadol, but most people say it's going on Melech HaMashiach. And apparently, just like Moshe Rabbeinu is not a Kohen or Machlekes, whatever the deal is, but Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who did the inauguration, it seems from the Psukim that it could very well be that Mashiach is going to be the one who actually brings these karbanos. He's not a Kohen. He's from the house of Yehuda, but he's going to be the one bringing these karbanos. So this is the great celebration that we're looking forward to. One final point. That's a good question. At what point does a Bechor, enter back into the fray? I don't know the answer to that. The Kohen Gadol?
I'm saying that the Nasi could be a Bechor.
It does say that the Bechorim will get back, but I don't know if it happens right away. I don't know how it works. 2 interpretations? Yeah, could be. So the one more question I want to deal with is: are we going to make up for all the karbanos that we missed? You know how many karbanos we missed every day, every Shabbos, every day Chodesh.
They bring a few 100,000 like they did.
That's the question. So apparently there's a Sefer Hamanig who's a Rishon. But the Girs is very messed up, so it's not clear what he's saying. But he seems to say that when Reish Chodesh comes, when Mashiach comes, we're going to make up for all the karbanos of Reish Chodesh that we missed. Kol Zman Hagolus.
Maybe just one Rosh Chodesh can make up for it.
And he says,
they can bring one carbon to make up for all.
No, that's not what he says. He says we're going to bring all the karbanos, and he says don't ask where do we get so much karbanos from, because it says in Yeshaya, in the 60th chapter, that the Goyim are going to bring all their animals to us. Colt, Sein Keder, Yikab Tzulach, and we're going to use it. And he says that the Pasha, the first Reish Chodesh, when we get a chance, we're going to sit there and make up for all the Reish Chodeshim. I made a cheshbon. How many karbanos we have to do for Reish Chodesh? Reish Chodesh. He's discussing Reish Chodesh. But it's the same halacha by Reish Chodesh also. That's the question. The halacha is once you miss Reish Chodesh, there's no making it up. So we have to think about it. But the svara is that spiritually we feel bad. But Shabbos, maybe it's Chil Shabbos. It could be we're not able to, because unless you have a nevuah to do it. But on a Reish Chodesh, you're able to shech the many karbanos. We're going to get to that in a split second, as a matter of fact. But I made the cheshbon. May not be 100% accurate, but right this year is actually 1950 years in Galus from the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. According to the Rambam. So and based on the calculation of that 7 out of every 19 years, cycle of 19 years are leap years, so we have an extra month. I took that into account as well. So according to my chesh, and there's 10 karbanos, there's 10 animals that we bring every Reish Chodesh. We're supposed to bring every Reish Chodesh, right? So according to my cheshbon, we're going to have to bring 241,200 animals. If Mashiach comes this Reish Chodesh, and we bring the karbanos, this Sunday is going to be Aleph Elul. So we're going to bring, Mirz Hashem, then the coming Sunday, 241,200 animals. It's going to be an action-packed day.
When Erev Pesach, did they bring huge amounts? Because you had millions of people near the Korban Pesach.
Fine.
Every
1 second.
You had a korban. So
I hear you. 1 second. That
divided by 5, you have hundreds of thousands of korbans.
I hear you. Let's try to get through it. Yeah. Right. So the Bnei Yissaschar, he actually brings from the Ramemi Panu that we say, if you look at the Nusach of Sha'adavening, we say, Musaf Yom HaShabbos Hazeh. And the question is, why do you say Hazeh? You should say, Musaf Yom HaShabbos we're going to bring. Hazeh, this Shabbos you're not going to bring. You want to say if it happens today, but that's not even the davening. You're saying that rebuild the Beis Hamikdash, so we should be able to have a Musaf Yom HaShabbos Hazeh. The word Hazeh, actually, there's a sefer called the Pardes from Rashi, and Rashi takes out the word Hazeh because of this question. Rashi says Hazeh doesn't make any sense. You're asking to get the carbon, not Hazeh. But the Bnei Yissaschar brings from the Ramemi Panu that they say that this is the pshat, because we're going to do a tashlumin, we're going to make it up, and we're going to bring all the karbanis that we missed, which is mashma that, even Shabbos we're also going to bring. Everything we're going to bring that we missed. However, we'll conclude with this. The Rebbe seems to be skeptical about this whole thing. There's a recording of the Rebbe's Yechidus with the two chief rabbis of Israel, the Mordechai Eliyahu and Shapiro, in Mem Daled, in Kislev Mem Daled, at the end of 83. And Mordechai Eliyahu mentions this word to the Rebbe by like an hour and a half, 2 hours into the conversation. It's like over a 2 hour conversation. So an hour and a half into the conversation, he tells the Rebbe that the Ben Ish Chai writes the same word that the Bnei Yissaschar, that when Mashiach comes, we're going to bring all the karbanis that we missed, the tashlumin when the Reish Chodesh, it was Reish Chodesh that day. So he said, if Mashiach comes today, we're going to bring all the karbanis that thing. So the Rebbe told him, the Rebbe asked him, the Rebbe said, after we bring the carbon of this Reish Chodesh, how could we makriv the carbon musaf for previous Reish Chodeshes? That's what the Rebbe asked him. So he told the Rebbe that it's like tashlumin. It's like just like davening. If you miss davening, the next davening you can make it up. Right? You daven twice. One second. He says it's like tashlumin, or he tells the Rebbe it's like a nedava. Right? That you could daven a tefillas nedava, like a you just want to daven an extra davening. So there's a carbon nedava, and there's a tefillas nedava. So the Rebbe told him what you just said. The Rebbe told him. This is Mordechai Eliyahu talking. So the Rebbe tells him that if it's mitzvah tashlum, the Rebbe said it only works for the immediate prayer right before that. The Rebbe says if it's mitzvah nedava, if it's as a present, the Rebbe says in order to be a nedava, you have to change something. You can't just daven a regular davening. You have to be moist of something. And by a carbon, that's not shy. The Rebbe said, how's it shy by a carbon to change anything? So how could you bring in a nedava? 1 second. I'm going to explain what I think the Rebbe means. And the Rebbe concluded the Rebbe says furthermore, the Rebbe says to bring all these karbanis takes so much time. The Rebbe says it takes so much time. What is the Rebbe saying? I think this is what the Rebbe is saying. That what are you trying to do? You have to. There's a concept in halacha of dayosh yefkiyas atzmei. Yeah. The reality is that you just bringing the carbon itself is a beautiful thing. How is it going to be recognizable that this is making up for all the Reish Chodesh that are bygone, and not for now? Now we're celebrating. Now we have a Beis Hamikdash. We miss the Beis Hamikdash so much, and we're bringing karbanis because we love the Beis Hamikdash and we love Hashem. Right? Where do you get it from that it's a carbon, that it's a tashlumin? So if it's immediately after, right, you're making up for the very next tefillah, fine. That's how tashlumin works. If it's nedava, you have to show. That's why when you daven, you can't just daven regularly. You have to change something. But a carbon, if you're not changing anything, the Rebbe says that how would it even work? And then I think the Rebbe's vart is one more vart, where the Rebbe speaks about the amount of time. What's the Rebbe's question? That it takes a lot of time. Like this gentleman here points out that a lot of carbon Pesach, hundreds of thousands of carbonis. What's the difficulty? So I think the vart is a svara, but the Rebbe the Rebbe has a sicha in Tashlumin of Shavuos Memzayin, a famous sicha. The Rebbe says that if Mashiach comes right now, we're going to bring the carbon Tashlumin this year. It's going to be amazing. So the Rebbe, the next Parshas Nasi, the Rebbe spoke, and the Rebbe says people asked on me that we're Tomei Tumas Mess. We're impure. How can I claim that Mashiach will come now and we're going to bring the Karban Tashlumin? How can we bring the Karban Tashlumin? And the Rebbe's answer essentially is that Moshe v'Aaron imoim. That Moshe and Aaron are going to arise right away, the Gemara says, and they're going to bring a carbon das. So Rabbi Avram Garlitzky in his Sefer, he has a ganze Shakavitarya, it's not so simple that those who arise from the dead are not going to be impure. It's a ganze Shai. The Gemara itself asks, people who rise Tchis HaMesim, are they pure? Are they impure? Are they Tamei Tar? he goes into tzaddikim are not, don't get tamei. I don't think it's richtig pshat. I mean, it's nice, but I don't think it's solid enough.
But then can they bring themselves? You need thousands of
One second. I'm finishing a thought. But so the Rebbe says, but I think that there could be a svara, maybe Moshe and Aaron are taka special. But the Gemara says that misas neshikin. The Gemara it says that tumah comes because the Malach HaMavis kills you, and he puts some of even the 4 people who died in Et Yishon Nachash because they had no sin. But in the end of the day, they died from Et Yishon Nachash, the sword of the Malach HaMavis. He puts a tipa into the person. But Moshe, Aaron, they were special. They died Mrs. Shikin, Hashem himself. So it could be very unique taka, that they're taka not tame, and they're going to bring tashlumin. But Legabi Linyanenu, I think the Rebbe was basically telling the Mordechai Eliyahu that even if you want to say that since you're doing it right after you bring the carbon musa for the Ishchaydish, and then immediately afterwards, you're bringing the tashlumin for all the previous Ishchaydish. So maybe you could say it's a little bit nicker. It's recognizable that I'm trying to make it up. The Rebbe says, even if you want to say that it's not shaykh to do it all right then and there, you're going to have to spread it out over time, according to you. Because who are the only ones available if Mashiach comes that day, the Ishchaydish Kislev, when the Rebbe was speaking to him? Moshe and Aaron. Right? They're not pulling off 200 and something thousand karbanis that day. The Rebbe said it's too many karbanis. It's not going to happen. The Rebbe told them that. So the Rebbe seems skeptical about this whole notion that we're going to do this, but it's still exciting, and maybe we'll still do it, and we'll find out. So hopefully this Sunday, Mitzvah Hashem.